I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Since a lot of what we have on the agenda tonight relates to resolutions, I'm going to have Jeff start the meeting off because you have most of the documents that you want to talk about.
Sure, so I'm happy to do that.
Yep.
I wanted to speak tonight to provide a little bit of background to the board and to the public as well, just in relation to the amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Excuse me a sec. For those that don't know, he's our town attorney, Jeff Battistoni.
Jeff Battistoni.
Jeff, I wonder, should we turn this around for you?
Towards me?
Sure.
Yeah, just turn that whole, yeah, there, that should do it.
It's sensitive.
Okay. All right, so again, I'm Jeff Battistoni. I'm the attorney for the town of Washington. The town of Washington Town Board received a proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan, and that came from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. You received that, you posted it on the town website, and last month you held a public hearing in relation to that. So at the January 12th meeting, there was a public hearing held. At the end of the hearing, that public hearing was closed. Afterwards, I took a look at that proposed amendment, and I looked back at the town's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is 60 pages long. The amendment was 295 pages long. So I asked, is there any way to shorten this without changing its substance? So I actually had a Zoom call with Leslie and Joe and Nan Stolzenberg, the consultant, and we discussed that issue, and we thought among ourselves that we could remove Appendix A, Appendix B, and Appendix C, and have links in the plan to those documents. By doing that, we were cutting the size of that attachment or that addendum by half, and we weren't changing the substance. We weren't changing any of the wording of what had been submitted. So we've done that for tonight. I guess in a sense we're calling this the condensed version. What we had received initially was 295 pages. We now have a version that doesn't have Appendix A, Appendix B, and Appendix C. Those appendices are available on the town website. There's going to be a link to them.
So maybe we should mention what they are.
I think there was a lot of stuff about the survey.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they were transcribing every comment that was written in on a survey result, and it was really data that the committee was considering. It's not really part of the amendment to the plan. So I was comfortable with taking it out.
So the Appendix A, we'll just say is focus group notes.
Focus group notes, yeah.
Which was and then Appendix B was the open house discussions, and then Appendix C is the town-wide survey, just so everybody knows.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I prepared a resolution for the town board tonight. They're accepting this condensed version of the amendment to the comprehensive plan. They're not approving it tonight. They're just accepting what was submitted. We have to then refer that to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. That's required by state law. So I have a resolution tonight which accepts that, authorizes the referral for environmental review purposes or seeker purposes. There's something called an environmental assessment form. And a full environmental assessment form, Part 1, has been prepared. That also has to get referred to the county. So in the resolution, the town board is accepting that and authorizing the referral of that to the county. Quite frankly, the supervisor has to sign that tonight. And I don't think there are any other referrals or circulation necessary, but if there are, you're authorizing that as well. So there's a 2-page resolution. I assume it's on the town website. Not sure, but I wanted to provide that background for everybody.
It's also attached to tonight's agenda.
Oh, yes, that's correct. It's attached to the agenda. That's correct. The board members have any questions about that?
No? No,
If you all had
no, no.
time to review it.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to go to that resolution. Basically, the things that I just said are in the resolution. They're in the whereas paragraphs. And the resolved paragraph is that you're accepting the proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan as presented. You're accepting the full environmental assessment form, part 1, as presented. You're classifying the action as a type 1 action for seeker purposes. And you're authorizing the referral of these documents to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, as well as any other referral or circulation that may be required. I don't think you need to read the whole resolution into the record because I've summarized it, and it is attached to the agenda, and it's available online as
So
well.
typically when the county gets it, what is it, like a 30 days?
They have 30 days to
respond
respond.
to it.
Correct.
I received a question about what kind of feedback or does a county ever make if it's not an approval? Will they come back to a town and say, we want more information about environmental impact, or?
They have 30 days to comment, and they can make comments that are non-binding in any way. And then sometimes they make a comment about a change they want. And if you don't want to accept that, you have to explain why, and you have to have a majority plus 1 vote to overrule that recommendation, so to speak. So we won't know until we receive something back from them what they're doing.
All right. So everybody's all comfortable with making that?
Yes.
Okay, someone make that motion?
So, yeah, I would just-
So I'll make that.
Joe,
All right, so
second?
Second?
Leslie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I
So,
can't
Chrissy-
tell whether Councilman Audia is present remotely or not. I don't know whether he's here or not.
Bob? Bob, are you on?
I think everybody is
Yes.
muted.
They are?
I haven't seen.
She hadn't seen
All right, so
Okay.
that would be a 4-0 vote then.
Right.
otherwise. Okay.
So Chrissy, you'll just take the roll call vote and just mark down each one of us that, we're in favor of it. Okay?
So along those lines, I just wanted to mention something further. The public hearing was closed last month, so this is not on for a public hearing. However, at the end of every agenda, you do have a public comment session. I know that the Attorney Albano is here tonight. I didn't know if she wanted to address the board, but if you would move that public comment session up till now,
Absolutely.
maybe she could speak and then leave and not have
Then
to
you can get back
stay the
to
rest of the
snow
time.
country.
Yeah, right.
That's okay, I did, everything was addressed in the letter.
Okay?
We don't need any additional.
So just in terms of your comments, there's a written letter that was submitted today, and
Yeah.
that suffices for any comment you'd want to make.
Yeah.
Do you want to see if anyone else has a comment and address it, receive it now
Just
as
comment.
opposed to waiting till the end of the meeting?
I did see John Lyons was on, Attorney John Lyons.
He is?
You may, yeah, I saw he was on.
I see him. Does
Yeah. But I wanted-
John Lyons, John, do you want to speak at all? You're on mute at the moment.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. No, I don't have anything to say at the moment.
Okay,
Thank you, John.
thanks, John. Was there anyone else who was here who wanted to comment tonight about this? We're just trying to do it now at the beginning of the meeting, so if anybody wants to leave, they can, and they don't have to sit through the rest of the meeting.
I have a question.
Yes.
After the 30-day review process, then back either with recommendations or a comment saying no comment. What's the next step after that?
If the FEAF is satisfactory and the county doesn't have any further comment, you could adopt this at next month's meeting. The county has 30 days to respond.
Now, if they send back a comment, then we have to review it. If we have to get back to them, that becomes another
It
30
could-
days.
Well, it could take another
Or
month,
a
that's
special
correct.
meeting
If
with
you,
comment.
if they make comments that are substantive in nature and you need some time to think about them, if they're recommending a change, you may say, okay, we agree with this, or no, we don't, and here's why. So
And then they review it, they have 30 days, and then they get back.
I don't think so. I think they make their comments to you, and then it's up to you to review them and address them.
Okay.
So Jeff, here's the full environmental assessment form that I signed.
You,
So,
you have
you
it,
wanna
you
give that
signed
to
it, okay,
Chrissy?
great, because that'll get referred to the county.
yeah,
All right, good, so I think that was it for that,
Great. Thank you, Jeff.
yeah. I'm getting this microphone away from
What
me.
did you have anything, something else, Jeff, that you wanted to?
Well, as we go through the agenda, there are a few resolutions on here tonight,
Right.
a few other matters. I'll just address them
Okay.
as we hit them.
But
All
not
right.
pertaining to comprehensive.
No, correct, not
So
pertaining to
piece
the
about
comprehensive plan.
It's done.
That's
Done.
completed for tonight.
So if anybody wants to leave. The rest of the meeting isn't very exciting.
No,
No.
trust me. Okay, so that resolution is done. Okay. Where's Joe? Oh, there you are. You want to give us your report, Joe?
Sure. We've had 11 events thus far this winter season. We've only plowed twice. Mostly ice storms, warm rain. We have spent, however, $30,000 on salt. So
Amazing,
that was
isn't
that's to replenish the shed. I can't tell you the exact number I had in there, sort of hard to calculate, but I probably had
The
around 30 in
microphone's
there.
right in the way.
Which one?
This one, right in front of Jeff. I can't,
Move it this way, I think is what he's saying.
that's the point. Good.
Your new truck is being repaired, one of the new trucks. It had a faulty pump on the driver's side, four-wheel drive. It is at International, it's under warranty.
Yep.
Expect it back next week, hopefully.
And they're working out okay, those trucks, those two?
Working out great. People aren't aware, the town allowed me to buy what's called a mid-size truck to plow the dirt roads. For years, we've been plowing these roads with very large trucks with very large plows, 2,000-pound plows. What we're trying to do now is go to a smaller vehicle, smaller plow, does the same job, the sanders are the same size, and we're not plowing the road on in these warm weather events. I was allowed to buy these vehicles through ARPA, is that correct? Okay, which was money that was given to us for COVID relief,
Yeah,
lost. Yep. Lost income. Anyway,
And to say nothing about the cost, I mean, we bought two of these trucks for what we paid for one of the other ones, so
correct.
there's a big cost savings.
We're taking off very large trucks that to replace them are approximately $250,000 to $260,000. One of these trucks costs $100,000, a little less, and does the same thing.
Yep, good.
The garage doors, all 7 of them are in somewhat disrepair. They haven't even come for service. The last 2 years, employment problems, they tell me, COVID, et cetera. So I went out and tried to get some bids for some repairs that are desperately needed to be done. So far, I've only had 1 respond. I've asked 3. I'm not sure if I have to do it again, but I think the total amount is approximately $10,000. But I'll keep plugging away.
Yeah.
That's about it. Unless you want to jump in with, come on.
Yeah,
Well, Joe, yeah, why don't you just
Agenda.
segue into that?
okay.
All right,
So I had a phone conversation with Dan Farnham at Colliers. And first thing, he informed me that he has made a site visit and proposed to make additional site visits every month. And I sort of let him know that, Dan, we realize the roadway is inferior, so your next site visit should be after a spring thaw, because that's when it's not as navigable as we'd like it to be. So it was left at where I would give him a shout when roadway was needing to be looked at, instead of being frozen, which is, the best travel conditions you can get. So in order for us to continue with drainage, the recommendations that he made at the last meeting, or the meeting prior rather, we have to have a survey done, because we can't be digging drainage ditches on property we don't own, or we don't know we own it. So in order to do that, we have to put out an RFP for survey. Dan sent us a scope with the language, and I forwarded it to Mary to send out the RFP request for surveying. And he suggests that the best time would not be in the winter. So it would be spring/summer for that. And then regarding traffic survey that we need to do as well, Dan will, like a traffic study, taking counts of how many vehicles go over, what kind of vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. Again, that can't be done in the winter because of the dangerous snow plows, because what they do is they put a cable over the roadway. You know how they do that, this and that. So we can't do this study until a snow plow, the snow plowing is over. So he is going to add that to our get a cost for that and add it to our current contract. And then he will coordinate with Joe Spagnola prior to doing any of that, okay? So in regards to the Oak Summit culvert, as far as the grant or funding that we possibly and hopefully will get, an email will be sent to you probably early April saying yay or nay, okay?
Okay.
So that's it with that. And then I'll give the ZBA report later on.
Okay, so,
Is that okay?
so,
Is there a resolution for an RFP? Did I read a resolution to put the RFP out, or we don't need?
No, we just got the scope for that, so you
Okay.
might be reading.
so Mary's got the wording for that, right, Joe?
Okay, yeah,
that
I
was
seen
sent.
that.
Okay,
And it's in the packet.
thanks, Joe. Joe, thank you for your report. too.
Okay,
Anything else for us?
thanks.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay. James, are we within the limits tonight as far as people go? Huh,
Much better than last time.
We're okay?
You're only off, what, one head last year?
You have the floor.
Okay, January got off to a pretty busy start, 47 inspections and site visits on the building side, 3 fire inspections on top of that, 17 building permits issued, 5 permits renewed. There's still 10 expired building permits, 14 fire inspections that are either overdue or are currently making some needed repairs to bring them into compliance. 2 of them have requested some short extensions due to material and labor availability. They're minor in scope, so they have those extensions as far as I'm concerned. No new building complaints in January, fortunately. One stop work order was issued, and there's still one ongoing investigation. I made 2 site visits, and it's going to be a little bit of a process to try to make an headway on that. From the zoning side, slower, 4 municipal searches, 6 site visits, 1 FOIL request, and no new complaints, 2 open complaint investigations, One of them, they're researching ways to bring the property into compliance, and I need to follow up with them as soon as possible because it's starting to drag a little bit. And the other one, made a site visit. Probably make one more and then either close it out or take further action depending on what I can or can't find out. So,
Back up to the beginning of your report, something about building permits that were in limbo or something? The first,
expired permits?
maybe that was it. Yeah, what is it?
There's 10 permits currently that are expired.
Okay,
And those range in age from something that expired just last month and I haven't gotten a response from to permits that have been open and have been an ongoing project since roughly 2004.
I'm probably a little dumb to that, but can you explain exactly what that is for?
That would be just permits that people open from anything from replacing a furnace to whole house renovations
Got
that
it.
have been
So-
never concluded.
So the work if it's not concluded or is probably concluded, like the work is over with? But they
In
wouldn't
most
meet-
cases, likely.
Yeah, it's probably, right.
Okay, all right. I just missed that part of it, that's all, so thanks. Any questions for James?
No.
No? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
James.
Lois?
I've been working with the new enhanced software, trying to familiarize myself with producing reports for you guys that look forward to do. So I'm a little bit time consuming.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully you are understanding the operating, it's called an operating report now.
Yep.
Before it was just an expense ledger and a revenue
Yep.
ledger. Providing the same information, I think even in a simpler format. But if you guys ever have any questions or whatever, I know the account numbers have changed a little bit. Anyway, the bank reconciliations through December are done. I've not gotten to January's. The monthly revenue from the Justice Court has been received from Betsy and Jeff through December. The building department report and the town clerk's report, audits have been submitted through January. We received our donation, the annual donation from the Millbrook School. I have to write a thank you letter, and I'll have that on your desk within a couple of days.
Okay.
For you to sign.
Right.
I completed all the year-end reports regarding payroll, the W-2s, 1099s, and the health insurance form that has to go to the employees and vendors. And then the annual financial return is due now the end of April.
That's with the extension, right, that they
Yes.
gave us?
Which, thank goodness, because I have yet to even
Right.
start that. I have to download it, and I'm gonna get started on that next week. And then also the annual ARPA compliance report is due the end of April.
Got it.
And that we have to report our expenditures and what ARPA funds we have used to date.
Do you know off the top of your head where we are with the balance on that?
I think we've used about half. There's about, I think it's might even be on your sheets. There's about $200,000 left. Joe's purchased his trucks. So
Right.
his, what we've allocated for him.
That's a 96,000?
Yeah, no, there's one down, I think it's two something. Do they have that on there or no? I don't.
No,
No,
see,
it's
I don't
fine.
see it.
That's fine.
Sorry, I will report that
That's
to you
okay,
tomorrow.
that's all right.
But so we have used, maybe even a little more than half because of Joe's, the money we allocated.
Yeah,
and
sure,
purchased his
sure.
trucks. And then their deadline for allocating any more is 2024. So we really should think about the other things we allocated funds for, maybe starting those projects.
Yeah.
The deadline for any monies used is 2026. And what we haven't used has to be returned. So we,
I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, you've
time
identified,
goes fast.
there's that list, that budget that you've identified, right,
Yeah.
for where that money will be. Yes.
I can send you the Excel spreadsheet that I've kept track of what we've spent so far. And one part of it was the new accounting software.
Okay.
I've attached some budget adjustments. One is for the use of the ARPA funds, increasing the ARPA revenue line and showing that we're getting it to the highway expense line.
Yep.
The other ones to sum up is the new enhanced software. Instead of putting the employer's social security costs to each department line items that we've been doing, I don't know if you recognize that or whatever, we're lumping all that into one account.
Okay.
So instead of having 10 social security lines for the bookkeeper, the town clerk, it's gonna go into one 90308, it's called. The enhanced software just prefers to report it that way. So that's what it looks like at the amendment, but it's pretty simple.
Yeah, good,
So that's it.
good. Makes your life easier though, hopefully, right? It will.
Yeah, I mean, it was all set up to go the other way, but it's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, I think in the future,
Yeah,
to have one line item is definitely easier.
thanks, appreciate it. Anybody have any questions for Lois?
No, thanks, Lois.
Yeah, good report.
Yeah,
So the
What's that?
we have to motion on the adjustments for the budget.
Yes, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Lisa, you have quite an extensive report, so you
Not too bad, actually.
give us yours?
Yeah, you probably want to speak to Jeff. Did you have any questions on my report that I sent to the board?
No,
I don't know if you
no.
need to go through
No.
Yeah, we
that.
saw it, yeah.
Okay, all right, and then we do have some new resolutions that we were gonna discuss. I didn't see anything about the volunteer, that's tabled for the moment? Volunteer fire?
I'll address that.
We're gonna address that too, okay. And then we're also gonna change the limits for the disabled exemption.
Yep.
Up to match the senior low income exemption.
Like, what is it, 37,000 or something now? Or it will be,
37,400
right?
and, and then 29 is so yeah. I think 30 something to 37,400, yeah, so it'll be the same. Just for sake of consistency, it just makes sense, we're having all these different limits and everything.
Sure.
It's been a while since it's been updated, and I also recommended the village to review that, so I believe they're gonna be putting the limits to where we're at too, just for sake of consistency. It's much easier for the disabled and seniors to understand that.
Good.
So, yeah, so
So
we're passing a resolution,
So Jeff
hopefully for that, and
wants
then we're gonna have a
to,
special meeting on the 21st, it looks like, for that.
So yes, I'll address this now. There is a resolution which is attached to the agenda. Actually, I think it's attached twice for anybody who has a copy in front of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You have a local law about a real property tax exemption for persons with disabilities. The state sets the income limits for those, and the state is allowing an increase to $37,400 as the maximum amount of income that can be earned to qualify for that exemption. So unfortunately, since you have a local law, the only way you can change is by having a local law to amend your prior local law. So that's what this resolution is. You're introducing a local law to make this change. It's actually pretty simple and straightforward. You do have to schedule a public hearing to do this. We're requesting a special meeting to do this because time is of the essence, so to speak. I was talking, I think, with the supervisor before the meeting, and maybe the 23rd of February would be a night for a special meeting.
Okay.
I don't know,
I
what do the
just
board
needed to know
members
to
think?
myself when a special meeting, because I know someone said 21st and 23rd,
Yeah,
So-
21st.
What day is that?
and that's a Thursday,
Thursday.
the 23rd.
What time you want to do it? Want to do it early?
5:30.
Huh?
Sorry.
I can-
5:30.
That good?
That time works for me.
5:30?
Yeah,
Okay.
This is the 23rd?
the 23rd, yeah.
So then the resolution is attached to your agenda. You just need to insert 23rd as the date and change the time from 6 to 5:30. Other
Yeah.
than that, the town clerk will have to publish a notice of the public hearing. Somebody would have to move the adoption of this resolution. Somebody would have to second it, and you'd have to vote on it.
Okay,
Mhm.
let's do that.
Right, so I make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, easy done, easy enough.
So that's 4-0 with
Yep,
one member absent.
yep.
Okay. The second item is the state has created, or is allowing the creation of a new exemption for volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers. Since you don't have a local law on the books about that, you can just adopt that by a resolution. I did prepare a resolution for you, but you can't adopt that tonight. You have to schedule a public hearing first. So
Right,
if you want to make a motion to hold that public hearing on the 23rd, I
Sure.
expect you could adopt that
So I have a
resolution that
question.
night. Yes.
And we say local firefighters, right?
Mhm.
So we're not saying Norwood Fire Department, we're saying local firefighters in the town of Washington. For example,
Correct.
if we have a firefighter living in the town of Washington who is a member of East Clinton Fire Department, he still gets that qualified.
No, I don't think so. I think you have to serve in the town where
have
you
to
live.
serve in-
Right, so you've got somebody who's serving in the town of Washington, but they're a volunteer member of an adjoining fire district or department or company, they wouldn't qualify for it.
Okay.
I think that's
So-
what the state law says.
So they have to serve, not live, like, and I'm saying
Live
that.
and serve, I
Live
think.
and serve.
Yes, you're granted
Live and
exemption for
serve.
town of Washington, correct?
All right.
My understanding too is if they move from one town to another and switch, that they still have to go through that waiting period again, which is a little silly, but that's what we've interpreted from the law. That might
Okay.
change
And I-
at some point, but it doesn't really make sense to me that they would have to go through that waiting period again. Is that what you get from this too?
It is, and
Yeah.
the waiting period can be anywhere from 2 to 5 years, and in the resolution I prepared, you're choosing 2 years. Somebody has to reside in town for 2 years in order to qualify.
Is it possible to amend that to say that we would waive that waiting period if it was somebody coming from another locality, or no?
I don't think you can. I
No,
think the
okay.
state has set the limits for
Okay,
this
all right.
exemption.
Okay.
So again, you've got a proposed resolution, but all you need to do tonight is make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the 23rd at 5:30.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
All right, I make that motion.
all right.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Mike's got the second.
4-0.
Aye.
Okay,
We are moving along.
we are,
Don't let the length of this.
we are. This could be a record.
All right, any other questions?
Hmm.
Good, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you.
Oh, Lisa? Yes, I do. Lisa? Before she wrap it.
Hey, Lisa.
Lisa,
Yes.
you may want to explain the postcard that's going out to everybody in the community.
This card has been making every assessor office in the state go crazy. Yeah, so Governor Hochul passed, some legislation towards the end of the year relative to the second notice being sent out to all the seniors 65 and older. And it was very general, was not well thought out legislation, and it created quite a ruckus because it doesn't address that it has to be a primary residence first off, and that there are income limitations, and particularly in this town, we have very few people that meet the senior limitation, the 37,400 we discussed for the disabilities, the same one we have for the seniors exemption. We have had a few people though for the enhanced that did not know that they could go from the basic to the enhanced, so we've caught a few of those. Despite New York State actually did send out a notice to those people, like a month or two ago. Like this postcard for some reason is really.
Just as an FYI, the postcard was sent to every mailing residency in New York State.
Yes.
So imagine the cost of that
$1 million
outreach.
at the 11th hour for all these municipalities to incur without any forewarning that was coming. Dutchess County alone, they absorbed it this year, it cost them $38,000 to send these postcards out.
But there have been a lot of inquiries, knock on the door, so it's
But
good
it's
to
just-
get the word out that
Right, but it's just so
how to
general.
clarify it.
It's, it really confused a lot of people. If they could even just state as primary residence and then it's for people that, there are income requirements. But, that's okay, we're getting through it. It's a lot of calls, but we're educating a lot of people so they understand it. And we're really busy, I'm happy being busy with that, but
Thank you.
get through it. So, and I will be putting more information on the website to help people, try to help in the future as we field calls to help the other departments if they don't understand it. Just reference that website, and if limits change down the line, we'll put that on the website too, so the public can review that. And some people that are kind of on the cusp, both of them, we tell them just call back next year, and we'll let you know what the new, if the limits have changed at all. Like for enhanced star, that changes every year. So this year not so much, but that one can affect some people.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so next meeting.
Danielle, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
Rec Director. I had my rec committee last night, rec committee meeting, and we are going over the bylaws of the rec committee. And I gave everybody a copy of it and sent them home with homework so that they can absorb it with more time. There probably will be some changes that we'll present to you in March's meeting. We discussed the lacrosse program that has been offered for rec. The board decided that we're no longer going to offer the lacrosse program at this point. We've come up with a job description for the groundskeeper maintenance person that we'll be hiring. I forwarded to all of you, and we just need a few things in order to put it out there, and that's salary requirements in order to advertise for that.
Yeah, and we'd like to do that sooner rather than later too, okay?
I think, Danielle, did you think we talk about it at the meeting on the
23rd.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I asked her to get that proposed.
There's new state regulations that require that the salary ranges are posted on the jobs when we post jobs now, so which was not
Right.
in the past, so that's the holdup for that. An RFP I wrote up an RFP for some work to be done at the park, and I just gave it to Jeff, so once he looks it over, then we can start posting for that also.
Is that for the engineer, for the well?
That is for the engineer to create a plan to put the well in.
Okay,
And also for a well driller to come in and an electrician to come in.
right,
Because the well is drilled.
okay.
I've been working a lot on the new facility usage plan for the rec, so that when people rent space from us or whatever, we have it all planned out, so that it's pretty easy to understand. So there's one thing holding off, and when I get that completed, I'll end it.
Great.
That's it.
Awesome. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is Mary on the call?
She can be unmuted.
Yeah.
Chrissy's standing in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can, I'm not 100% sure. I know that Mary and Kristen,
Here she is. Hey, Mary. Yeah, and then, yeah, we'll just, you can go over the, the ZBA and the planning board mailings that go out. You can explain that, okay? I'll put you on speaker. Okay, yeah. Okay.
All right, hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well tonight. I wanted to talk about the mailing for Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeal, mailing for the adjacent neighbors. We have in the town code that we, the town, know that the neighbors will mail them. And currently, Kristen, our secretary, is mailing them. It's due to a recent resident who claimed he had not received the notice. The town made the decision that we would send them certified. It's a recent postage increase this month. The cost for that is about almost $9 per mailing, and it cost us $125 for one application. So the question is, and particularly for the Zoning Board of Appeals, the application fee is $400, which should but doesn't cover the mailing, the publication with the newspaper, the work that's involved with James, and the work that's involved with Kristen. So the choice is, do we increase our fees for Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, or do we follow the code and require that the applicant themselves do the mailing and the notice to the newspaper? Many towns do not. They show them how to go to the website, and it's the responsibility of the property owner or the applicant to mail the notices to the correct neighbors. Kristen is happy to provide that information to the applicants, give them the mailing address and the names of all the people that would have to be, the notice would have to be sent to. So it's up to the town board to really decide if we want to follow the code that it's written as written currently, or do we want to continue with the practice that we have been doing, which does not follow the code. So that's what I'm asking the board to discuss tonight and either make a decision tonight or on February 23rd.
I just have a question regarding that. We have the applicant send out the mailings. How do we follow up on that to show that the mailings were actually sent?
They would have to do that through a certified mailing, just like the town is doing.
Okay.
And the post office provides them with a receipt,
Okay.
as well as the return receipt from that the person who it was mailed to.
Okay.
And we can require them to present that proof to us, I think, as part of their application. That can be part of, Kristen can do that as part of the checklist when they submit everything. So if it's missing, they can't then go before that particular board.
Jeff, did you have anything you want to chime in on with it?
Yeah, I will say that I have represented some planning boards, and I've seen planning boards require applicants to mail these notices. And it's a notice of a public hearing, so it may not be at the time of application. An application may go a few months before it's ready for a public hearing.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But when a public hearing is scheduled, the applicant is responsible for mailing these notices. The night of the public hearing, they come to a meeting and they're asked to report on how many mailings they sent, and how many were returned, if any, and how many return receipts they have. So the burden and the cost is on the applicant from what I've seen.
Okay.
And what is if, let's say something happened, I guess they would have to demonstrate that they did in fact make the effort if something was returned. Who would be being in a situation now where we do have a resident who is concerned that they didn't get notified, what would happen, or your experience with these other municipalities that have the applicant do the notification? If people say they didn't receive it, or, which we have a case of that now, what is the,
But it's sent
what
certified,
what is the
right?
recourse? I guess there, but if it's returned or something, I guess it would be just the same as if we were sending it.
It would be, that's
Yeah.
right. If you have some that don't get delivered and returned, what are you going to do, right?
So you're basically saying, as long as they provide due diligence,
Right, that's what I've
once it's
seen,
returned,
that they've made the effort.
and they can show that they made that effort, then it stands.
That's what I have seen, yes, but
Did you hear that, Mary?
Yes, I did.
But that seems simplest to me.
I like
It's already in our
Yeah.
code. We don't have to pay the additional expense. And Jeff, you're right. We do let the applicant know at the meeting when the public hearing will be set. We can, at that point, Kristen can say, here's the information, here's your neighbors, here's a packet,
Sure.
however we want to do it, and then they
Right.
can take it from there.
right, and the notice
So-
under your code has to be given to owners of land within 500 feet of the proposed
Right.
site.
Right.
So we don't really need to do anything then, right?
No, it's because it's already
It's
part of our
already there,
code. We
right?
just have to get, I think Mary just wants direction from us
Right.
about how we want to handle it, so that Kristen knows how to handle it.
Right, I think you need to change your procedure, because I think Kristen was sending these notices out instead of the applicant. And we just have to make the applicant aware that the
Yeah.
applicant needs to do it.
Mary, did you want to say something?
No, long as we're in agreement, and I don't think we need a motion, that we're just going to follow
Right.
the code that we have in place.
Yeah, we're all in agreement.
And there'll be
Excellent. Very good.
just a transition period, because there was a, planning board meeting on Tuesday night, and there were some public hearings set, so we just have to figure
Yes.
out if Kristen's doing that or the applicant, or how we want to.
For those, I told Kristen to continue to do it as we have previously done it. Once the board makes a decision, as you're doing tonight, after going forward, anything at the March meeting will be done the way it says in the code.
Right.
And then the ZBA doesn't meet till after us. So again, but it'll be the March meeting for them as well.
So the chairman of planning and the chairman of zoning will be notified of this change tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And they were already in the loop
Yes.
on the emails regarding this potential change.
Yes.
Okay, and do you have a copy of the agenda, Mary, or not?
I don't, I had to turn off the computer, I'm on my phone speaker right now, so I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
So if you
All
just
right.
tell me, the next thing on the list, I believe, is taxes.
No, the minutes from January and the letters regarding the comprehensive plan addendum
Oh, I'm sorry.
will be
Yeah, those,
posted to the website.
yeah, those have not been posted to the website. I've had some questions from people about that, and they will be posted by Wednesday of next week. I'm currently making sure I have every one of them. I don't want to leave anybody out, and everything will be on the website next week.
Okay,
With tax time and this happening at the same time,
yeah,
it's been a little bit of a hectic
Yeah.
office.
for sure.
And yeah, so, taxes trump everything else, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So I apologize, but that will be taken care of.
okay. And
Yeah.
thank you, Mary.
Oh, you're welcome. I do want to ask you, I sent you an email, and this is not on the agenda, and I apologize, I just forgot to put it on the agenda. You all sent the general code review that was completed by Sarah Wilson.
Mhm.
And if you have any questions about that, we'd love to hear those questions. And if you have any comments, we're happy to hear those comments too. If you're satisfied with what Sarah has done, then I would like you to authorize us to forward it on to general code so we can get our code completed and begin the process with the mapping program that we will be undertaking. If you have questions or want to wait, we can do this at the February meeting, the February 23rd meeting if you prefer.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
give us a little time to digest all that,
very good.
okay?
Yeah, and if anyone wants paper copies, just let us know. We'll get them to you if you'd
Okay.
like that.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else that I had on the agenda?
No, that was it.
Okay.
How's there,
Very
a lot of snow up there?
It's freezing, it's ice right now. The temperature's at a mix, so they've had a lot of snow, and right now it's just a sheet of ice.
Oh,
So
boy.
it's I was going to head home, but there's no way I can travel right now.
No.
Yeah.
Sit tight.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And I
Mary.
appreciate it.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna turn you off here.
Very good.
Thanks,
Have a good night,
you
everybody.
too, thank
And
you.
call me if anything comes up.
I will.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
She's in Lake Placid, that's why. Okay, moving right along. Leslie?
Sure. You recall at our last meeting, we discussed an expectations document that Susan Meany and Mary, Alex, and I prepared for both the planning and zoning boards. It was approved by the town board at our follow-up meeting to that meeting, and it was circulated to the planning board and the ZBA. So they're in their hands now, and that document's been reviewed by the planning board this past Tuesday night. The planning board also had their ethics training by Laura Allen on Tuesday night.
Right.
And they had 3 applications before them. The first was a barn conversion on North Tower Hill. It's going to be an in-laws suite without a kitchen. So that's scheduled for a public hearing for next month. Upton Lake School at 20 Shepherd's Way, you recall, that's sort of been an ongoing workshop application. They
Yep.
haven't really decided what they're going to do exactly there in terms of size and scope. They were considering, and they talked about it at their last meeting and again on Tuesday night, a second driveway. That driveway is within the wetlands buffer in the town of Clinton. So the planning board suggested that they refer it to the fire department to see if they actually need that second driveway. If they don't need it, then they can avoid having the issue of being within the wetlands.
With the
buffer.
wetlands, yeah. Yep.
So, but he's still not, the applicant is still not quite sure whether or not they'd want to go through that process anyway. The other thing is they have a parking lot there that was installed before the wetlands law, so it's grandfathered in. They're considering perhaps tearing it up and putting in a new parking lot. If they were to do that, then they would have to get a wetlands permit. So it's still a lot of kind of workshop
Really, they have to go through that
conversations.
again, huh?
Yeah, because
Wow.
they're disrupting, tearing it up, you're disrupting the environment there, and so they'd have to have a whole other evaluation done to see.
Wow.
Third application was the Woodner application on North Mabbittsville Road. It is a 2-bedroom apartment in a barn that they want to split into 2 separate apartments. It does not require a site plan because there's no exterior work being done. And they're going to come back next month for a public hearing. But this is something that the planning board suggested that we look at when we look at our code, because ag and markets law trumpets local code, and it doesn't require planning board or site plan review, or either, depending if it's for employee housing for ag. So we should just have that conversation. Maybe when we're looking at the code was a suggestion from them.
Yep.
The CAC met last night. Howard Schuman provided an overview of the planning board applications that I just discussed, particularly the Upton Lake one, because that involved the wetlands concern, and there was also discussion around lighting there. The CAC has some suggestions for the town board about some things regarding the code. Lighting is one. And so I suggested to them that they come up with a list of things they'd like us to think about, just like the planning board is, and the AKRF is, and Sarah Wilson, of parts of the code that we might want to look at and tighten up. So we have to talk about timing for that, for everybody to kind of give us their thoughts, but I said it's important that they all be in agreement. It's not just, that CAC said, hey, maybe you want to look at lighting, or you want to look at, noise, or whatever they're considering, but just have that be a consensus from that committee before it's submitted to the town board for consideration. Margaret Schneibel and Richard Phillips and I are part of the joint NRI task force with the village and the town of Clinton To remind, that's the technical assistant grant that we received through the Department of Environmental Conservation. We had our first meeting on January 23rd, an organizational meeting with the representatives from the village and from the town of Clinton. We're going to be meeting the fourth Thursday of every month. The first step is really collecting all of our mapping and providing that to the DEC. So we can sort of see where we are, what maps we may still need to try to locate. And we're all going to be sharing all that information among the 3 municipalities. The DEC sent out a press release announcing this joint NRI. We've got a great quote from our supervisor in it, and so that's exciting. We'll see where that ends up. So that's all for that right now, which is terrific, and that work is starting. On the CSC, or Climate Smart Communities front, Margaret Schneibel and I met with Cornell Cooperative the week before last. They're helping us with our Climate Smart Communities assessment. They provided us with the overview of all the different initiatives that we can undertake to get climate smart credits. Again, it depends on what our goals and priorities are as a town. So we, after having that meeting with Cornell, we went to the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, which includes Richard Phillips, Elizabeth Bellin, Colleen Howland, Adelaide Camillo, and then Shannon Ledoux and Pam Scott, who are liaisons, one for the CAC, one for the village. We reviewed with them our meeting with Cornell and certain things and priorities that we can look at to undertake in 2023. Margaret and I are actually meeting tomorrow to go over that. We're going to go back to the CSC, and then we'll come back to the board for your feedback.
Sure.
So that's it on my reports there. Mary and I put the Zoom discussion on the legislation that Jeff brought to our attention, that the Association of Towns mentioned about towns looking at allowing town board members to vote via Zoom if they are not able to be present in person. Jeff, do you want to give a summary of that, and we can talk about?
So the state of New York has amended public officers law and added a new section 103A, and it allows towns to adopt a local law authorizing video conferencing for meetings. A majority of the board would still have to appear in person at every meeting, but others could appear by video conference, and they could vote by video conference. I think you could actually do this for each board of the town. I would recommend that for the planning board and for the zoning board of appeals as well. In theory, town board members are they are supposed to be there. They can only appear by video conference in extraordinary circumstances. What exactly that would mean would be up to interpretation. But I think this is a good idea. And if you want, I can prepare a local law for this.
Sure.
The Association of Towns has a sample local law, so I'll try to follow that.
That'd be great.
I'll try to have that ready for the special meeting on the 23rd if you want.
Yeah, good.
You mentioned the other boards that do Zoom. Would they themselves have to vote whether they want to continue that protocol or discontinue a protocol like that? Or if we say yes, it applies to everybody?
I'm going to have to research that because it says the local law may provide authority to all committees who can make their own determinations. So maybe we have to.
I think it's just our decision.
Make an individual decision.
Yeah.
No, I
You think
think,
they do? Don't you think we would trump that, since we're
Yeah.
the ones that said well, you let us
I'm
know.
going to let you know, right? And
Yeah.
it'll be right in the local law that I prepare.
I mean, the way it's worded.
The only thing, and I think that extraordinary circumstances is an important qualifier, because I think it is important to have that optionality in extraordinary circumstances. Bob is not here, he's at every other meeting. Mike and I are going to be away for the March meeting, but we just don't want to be a habit where, particularly with planning and zoning too, we have some in the expectations document. I think we said you get two unexcused or Zoom, options. So that can just be our own practice. We all obviously come every time in person, but it would just be, again, nice to have that flexibility in a case where
of course,
Bob can't, in this case, he could vote today, or Mike and I, so.
if somebody gets sick and they can't make
Yeah.
it for whatever reason.
So I'll draft a
Yeah.
local law for that and
Great.
have it ready for you on the
Thanks,
23rd.
thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Leslie. That was a good
Oh,
report.
sure.
Mike?
If you recall, we've been addressing the document that was our original ethics document that applied to the town. We had a committee that researched it, rewrote it, and offered it to us in November of 2022. We passed it, it became law in the town. Part of that document was to expand the number of members of that group from 3 to 5. And we are now able to fulfill that obligation. But just before that, I just want to make an announcement. One of the original 3 was our local judge, Betsy Shequin. But some directives have come down from the state level recommending that local judges or any judge refrain from participating in other committees where they might be making decisions that could possibly be challenged and brought to a court. So Betsy's going to step away from that committee, and therefore that opened up for 3 candidates. We've gone through an interview, a seeking process, we've gone through an interview process, and tonight I'm placing into nomination 3 people to become members of the Ethics Committee. They are Charles Whedon, Amy Woods, and Carol Poles. They've been interviewed by members of the town board, all highly qualified, all members of the town of Washington. So I'm placing them into nomination, and I just need approval on that.
Great. So moved.
Good with me. Second that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Thank you.
And for the public's benefit, the 2 other members that are currently serving
Are
are,
Pam Scott, who's the chair of that committee, and Laura Allen. Both Pam, Laura, and Betsy have put together a fairly comprehensive education program that they have been presenting to everyone in the town that belongs either as a volunteer on a committee, an elected official, employees. They're working through that process right now. They've presented to planning, they've presented to zoning, they will be presenting to CAC, Board of Assessment Review, Recreation Board, and all of the employees. We are obligated every year to also educate and re-educate people on sexual harassment. That is a directive that comes out from the state every year. It has to be a formal presentation. People have to sign off that they have attended. So what we're going to do is to kind of piggyback the ethics presentation on top of that to give everyone an opportunity, including employees of this building, our highway department people, to come in, and anyone that has missed other education presentations can attend that one also. So we're going to try and get all of this accomplished by the end of March into April. And that will become an annual event, and it will be part of the new employee orientation each time they come on. So that's ethics. Short-term rentals. I'm pleased to announce that the committee that has been researching and doing a workshop, the research has been going on for 3 years. The workshop has been going on for about 6 months. We have completed all of our research, including research that has been assisted through the attorney's office, Jeff's office. We have moved forward on creating a final document, a draft, which will be reviewed by the committee as its final presentation. We will then pass it to the town board, that they will have an opportunity to look at it. Then we will formally present it and as a local law, which will require a public hearing. We hope to accomplish all of that, including the public hearing, and have possible adoption by June. So everyone will have. The other evening, I was invited to attend with Gary a local county meeting of all supervisors and mayors. And that was a topic of conversation at their meeting also, trying to figure out how to handle short-term rentals and what the restrictions should be and so on and so forth. I believe ours is fair. It's very comprehensive. We are in favor of short-term rentals. We just need to have people being aware that there are guidelines. So that is coming up very, very quickly, and we will have public hearing on that. The other, Danielle, Recreation. Last night, Danielle mentioned she had a meeting, and our first, a new member of that board was in attendance, James Eads. he was approved prior to last month's meeting, and now they have a full component of their rec commission. So there's my report.
Good.
The one thing about the rec committee report that I think, just with the lacrosse decision, the reasoning behind that.
The lacrosse decision, currently there is a program called, Lisa, Daniel, what's the name of the group?
The Hounds.
The Hounds, the Millbrook Hounds. It evolved out of a lacrosse program that we ran for a number of years, which had a very good participation number. But over the years, for whatever reason, the numbers have fallen as far as recreation participation of lacrosse, both on the boys level and the girls level. However, this group was able to at least accumulate 12 to 14 members. They sought permission to run a travel program under the umbrella of recreation, our recreation. We did some research and we found it was very similar to back in the 70s and the 80s when Millbrook ran their Millbrook youth hockey program, where there were dozens and dozens of in-resident young men or young boys and girls who wanted to play hockey. Numbers of teams, we would do it up at the prep school. However, as that became more sophisticated, they too sought to do what they call touring teams that go out and play other communities. Some even go out of state to play them. There are a number of them now that have grown, similar to AAU. When the youth hockey program got to that level, the recreation decided to pull back, only because it was very cost prohibitive, but also it became almost an elite tour program, which we felt weren't recreation oriented. So that's why we made the decision on the lacrosse program. I've also last year met with the athletic director here at the high school, and they were faced with the same participation issue. That's why they dropped girls lacrosse, even though previous years they had highly successful programs, several of which actually made it to the state level for tournament competition. So it kind of goes in what, highs and lows, but we made the decision that particular program now, the lacrosse program, would not fall under the recreation program. I believe they reached out, and right now I think they said there was one resident from the community that was participating right now, or 12 to 14.
In last year's, it was 12.
Last year there were 12. So probably it's a matter of number. So what they will now have to do is just basically in-house all of the things that we were doing for them, like seeking out referees, insurance coverage, all of that type of thing. So it's a tough decision to make, but
with fields though, we often will let people use our fields.
They could seek to use our fields, and as Danielle mentioned, we are working on how to effectively do that in a fair and equitable way, where people renting fields for programs and summer programs and camps and so on. So yes, they can move in that direction, and we certainly have the field up there. So that's the background to what happened with the lacrosse program.
Good. Okay, does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I have a ZBA.
John, how'd we miss that? Come on, Joe.
So the zoning board of appeals had their meeting on January 17th. The public hearings were held regarding Daniel Yadgard's request for a rear yard setback on his property on Stanford Road. It's a rear yard setback variance for construction of a swimming pool. The other public hearing was for a variance for a peaked roof on a proposed high school building at the Upton Lake Christian Academy. So regarding the Yadgard property, Daniel Yadgard withdrew his application and his building permit was therefore revoked. He is submitting a new revised application to be heard at next ZBA meeting on February 21st. The application for the Upton Lake roof variance will also be further reviewed at next meeting, as the local fire departments will need to be notified of this new proposed construction.
Good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, so that brings us to conclusion. We typically have comment period. Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask or comment on? What a great group.
Can I
God, you're
I
kidding.
have
No.
one comment. Is Margaret still here, Schneider?
Yeah, yeah,
I just wanted to thank Margaret because
yes.
even though Chrissy and we're pretty good at Zoom and Joe is very good at Zoom, Margaret is our Zoom master and
All
at
right.
the very last minute
Good
came
for-
in after getting in from a trip
Thank you.
yesterday and being on different time zones. So thank you for doing that.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Not very exciting,
I don't
but
know if you enjoy
I
it.
know, it's
How you
almost like
doing?
the meeting that,
Dominique, have a
Always
safe
good to
trip
have
back.
thank you. I'm gonna get my surprise video. I gotta see her.
Yeah, we'll see you.